Hello, welcome back to another video. Today's video, 3.4 swap. If you guys are new to this channel, we're doing a 3.4 swap on a 92 Toyota Pickup, original 3.0, original 5-speed, AC, cruise control and all. Watch my other videos if you guys haven't watched it. So today's video, we're gonna go ahead and prep up the engine bay. The 3.0 has been already removed. I'm gonna go ahead and prep up the engine bay, remove some things that you guys need to remove, and also prep this engine bay ready so that we'll be ready when the time comes to drop in the engine, the 3.4. I'm gonna go ahead and do the fuse box as well. There's a wire that you have to remove on the fuse box and extend that as well, but I'll go ahead and show you guys all that once I get to it. We are gonna go ahead and keep the AC system, so we're not gonna remove any of the AC lines on this truck, and we're also gonna be doing cruise control, but that's something else. Today's just engine prep. Come along, enjoy the video. Here's a quick look of the engine bay, original 3.0 5-speed. These are the AC line. We're going to leave them in place because we will be using the AC line and such. We'll also go ahead and put a new 3.0 throttle bearing. First thing we need to remove is this dust shell right here. This dust shell it's a protectant for the steering sleeve. We're gonna remove this because we need a little bit more room when we drop the 3.0. It's plastic, so you can use any kind of cutter that you like. Any kind of cutter, whatever you prefer. And this thing just rips apart. This is trash. Don't need this no more. Next thing on this list is this heat shield. This heat shield is on the inner side of the frame rail on the driver's side. You have to remove this. If you don't remove it, you're gonna have some issue with your 3.4 crossover downpipe going inside. Because this right here, it gives us more room between the transmission and the frame rail. It's held by a couple 12mm bolts. 1, 2, 3. If you want to, you can put the bolts back inside, but you don't really have to. So this right here gets trashed, guys. You can see we have more room right here now between the transmission and the frame right here. The next thing we need to do is on the driver's side as well. Right on this kick panel here, this is another heat shield. This heat shield is for the downpipe. You don't have to remove it, but you just need to bend this back. You see how it's hanging off the firewall? About 2 inches right here. Just pound this back. So just take whatever mallet you want, rubber mallet, and hammer that back. You also don't want to remove it because it does add some protection for the downpipe to the exhaust, because it's right under your cab right there. So you definitely want to keep that in place. The one on the side that we just removed here, that one's not too important, so that's why we can remove it. You can see how it went from over here to over here now. Next up is the power steering. This is the stock 3.0 power steering. We are going to be using the 3.4 power steering pump, but we also need to use the 3.0 banjo bolt. The 3.0 banjo bolt, it's a bit smaller and it's different, so you must use the 3.0 banjo bolt. If you use the 3.4 banjo bolt, you're gonna have some leaks. So on the power steering, the only thing we need to do for this guy is cut this clip right here. You see how there's this extension bar? We just need to cut it right there. And be careful, it is kind of hot. So there you go. See how that is? We got that all nice and cut now. This hose right here is the fuel return line. We need to extend this hose once we install the 3.4, because instead of looping down here, it loops all the way back to the driver's side to the fuel regulator. To be on the safe side, when you go buy this hose, this is a quarter inch fuel line hose. You need about 3 feet, about 2.5, but just get 3 feet. 3 feet, and then when you have your motor in, you can trim that down. So we'll just go ahead and remove this. We don't need this anymore. If you want to keep this as spare for trail repair or anything like that, you can keep this hose. But I myself got plenty of hose already. And we're just going to go ahead and cut it because I know it's going to give me some issue here. Cut this hose out. So this is trash. Or if you want to keep it, it's nice. When you're removing your 3.0 engine, the fuel line is kind of hard to get to. The fuel line from the regulator down to your main hard line. And since we don't use the 3.0 fuel line anymore, you can just cut the 3.0 hard line so that you can remove your engine out easier. We're going to be using the 3.4 fuel line. This fuel line, it connects to the hard line that runs on the side of your rail. It's really hard to access it when you have to crawl from the other side, so I just do it this way. One end is a 3/4 inch, and then on the other, or 3/4 19 mil, and then the fuel line itself is a 14 mil. So this one can get pretty tight. Sometimes it gets pretty tight in there, so it's much more easier when you have the engine bay out. On the fuel line side, you need a 3/4 or 19 mil, and then on the hard line side, it's a 14 mil, and you have to hold one end and then turn the other end. Oh, this one is easy. My red 3/4, when I did it, it was super hard. It almost felt like they were cross-threaded. When you're unbolting this and when you're bolting it back on, it feels like they're cross-threading, but they're not. It's just a really tight fit for some reason, but it's very scary because last time I thought that I had cross-threaded it. Yeah, so right now I'm loosening it, but it's really tight, but I know it's normal because last time it felt the same way. It feels like it's hard because it feels like it's getting cross-threaded, but it's not. Almost got it out. It's coming out right now. All right. I think I can do it by hand now. I can remove this off by hand now, but I'm just gonna leave it threaded in I'm gonna leave it threaded in about 1 or 2 threads because I'm gonna pressure wash this engine bay in a bit, and I don't want any water going back into the main hard line. So just leave it on there for now. We can always do this last. This isn't super important. The next thing we're gonna adjust is this line right here. This hard line right here is the fuel vapor line that usually goes into the 3.0 canister, charcoal canister. In my other 3/4 swap, I just went ahead and left this hanging down, but this time I'm gonna go ahead and make this route back to the 3.4 evap box. But we need to remove this out of the way because we're gonna put something right here. So this is held by a 10 mil, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove that 10 mil right here, and then I'm gonna try to raise this hard line so that it contours this right here. And we'll probably have to go ahead and cut a little bit off, and then we'll run a vacuum line for this later on. I'll show you guys some of that later, but for now it's pretty simple. In the fender wells, I like to put the bolts back into where they belong. We can remove this piece here because we're not going to use it. Hose clamp. This is actually good for other stuff in the future, so you want to save these stuff. So we just want to run this contour. I want to run it. Maybe I'll run it right behind here next to the fuel line. So like I told you guys, this is the fuel line right here, the return line. Yeah, so maybe I'll do something like that. That little clamp that I just removed, it has a slot for 2 lines, and I think I can remove this right here. This one just hold the fuel return line, and I think I might be able to use this to hold both of them in place. So let me go ahead and try that. Yeah, let's go ahead and try that and see if that works. So crazy, I just lost the clamp. Where did I put that clamp? Oh my gosh, this is so weird. Oh, there it is. This is all new to me, guys. So let's see if I can fit both of them in there. If I can fit both of them in there, that'd be a win. Oh yeah, I might be able to. Yep. So kind of have to do some bending. Oh yeah, I think I can get them in there, guys, so this might work. So see, this is all new to me. You just kind of find creative ways of doing Toyota things. Oh, perfect. Look at that. We just discovered something new, man. How awesome is that? We'll go ahead and keep this one for spare. So I was able to route both of them together. So this is the fuel return line. This one is important. And then this one over here is just a vapor line. it's still important, but it's not super important. I think I'm gonna leave this one for now. Let me leave this one for now because I can always fix this later on with the engine and the bay. I don't have to mess with it right now, so I'm gonna leave this right here for now, and I'll decide later on if I want to cut it or not. So that's good for now. We're almost done prepping this engine bay. We don't need to do much, guys, just a few small things. One of the other things we need to do is this right here is the 80 amp alternator wire. Originally this hook up onto your positive wire on your battery. So you have this wire and then also the hot wire that goes to the starter on the 3.0. So this wire, we need to extend it so that it can reach all the way down to the starter when we put the 3/4. So I'm gonna show you guys how to remove the fuse box and how to unbolt everything. It's pretty simple. This fuse box is held by 10 mil one right here and one down over here. So just remove that. Go ahead and remove the fuse box cover first. Set that aside. Very easy to do. And for this wire here, I believe we're gonna use a 8 gauge wire, and you need about, to be on the safe side, just get about 4 feet. And then once you get the engine in place, you can decide if you want to shorten it later on. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do like 3 feet. This hose right here is just the hose for the windshield fluid wiper. And then these two wires right here, are for your ADD system. You can actually remove this one because we won't be needing this anymore. So if you wanted to, I think last time I did it, I just went ahead and cut it right here, right over here, and then I just went ahead and electrical tape it. But these two, we'll go ahead and just leave them, let them be for now. They're not really bothering anyone right now, so we'll just shove them in the back right here for now. So on the front of the fuse box, there's a couple tabs right here where the wire is sticking out. You just have to take a flat screwdriver and pop these tabs down. Once you pop the tabs down, there's the bottom cover of the fuse box. So this will come out like that. Very, very simple. Oh, that tab just broke. So that's the bottom of the fuse cover. So those tabs are what I'm talking about. Once you have that removed, you'll see the wire. This is the white wire, the hot wire, the white wire right here. And it's only like about 1.5 feet. And on the 80 amp, you want to go ahead and press this tab right here. There's a tab right here that you just press, and this 80 amp will slide down. So you see how it just slides down now? Once it slides down, you'll see all these wires. So this white wire is what we need to remove. So what we want to do is just go ahead and remove these 8 mil bolts, and then we'll just go ahead and bend this white wire, snap it back and forth, and it'll just pop off. You might not even have to remove it yet, but yeah, just go ahead and just rock it back and forth or nip it down. And see that? It comes out. So this is pretty much trash. If you don't know what wire size this is, you can just take this to your local hardware, and I think this is a 8 gauge wire. And you'll want to build your own wire, or you can do it. So you'll need about 3 feet or 3 feet. 3 feet should be plenty. 3.5 feet of 8 gauge wire, and you have to put some eye loop at the end of it. And then your new wire, you just put it right here. Just unscrew this open, put it right here, and then it just goes back the same way it came out from. So really, really simple. But this is pretty much trash. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together just for now, because we're not gonna do this mod yet. We're gonna do this later on. And this right here, you can just snap it back into place. So you guys saw how easy that was. Very easy, not too hard at all. I mentioned earlier that I'm gonna go ahead and pressure wash this engine bay. So one thing I like to do is take the power steering line and the return line for the power steering and just put a Ziploc right over it just to protect it from water, and then everything else should be pretty much okay. So I just put a Ziploc over it and then just zip tie it so water don't get inside. The throwout bearing, we'll go ahead and replace that later on. I'm not going to replace it right now. We do have it, but I'm not going to put it on right now because there's a lot of grease in the belt housing, and we're going to go ahead and degrease all that stuff. So right now we're pretty much done. We're ready to go ahead and degrease this engine bay. I'm going to be using some Purple Power degreaser, and then we'll go ahead and use the power washer, the pressure washer, and spray this engine bay down. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to show you guys myself doing the degrease and pressure washing it because I also don't want my camera to get wet. But you can see here, it's kind of dusty over here. There's lots of dirt over here too. So I'm going to go ahead and degrease it. I'll try and use the brush and brush it and get it agitated first. But for the most part, we just want to get at least nicely, decent clean. You can see the back firewall there is all dirty. And then there's tons of grease right down here inside the bell housing, which isn't a super big deal. It's aluminum, so it's not like it's kind of rust or anything like that. And then right on the diff, and there's a bit of grease too as well. And then right inside these control arms, there's a lot of dirt right there. So we'll go ahead and degrease it, let it air dry for a day or so. Hopefully it doesn't rain again. But once everything's dry, we'll go ahead and rattle can some black spray paint to give it some extra protection. So that's pretty much it for the engine bay. Degrease and power wash. Look at that, so nice and pretty. It was super greasy on the diff. You can see that. You can see the diff cover now. I am gonna go ahead and do the ADD delete, so I need to remove those hose line right there that you guys see. And I need to open up the actuator and do the modification where you move the shift fork. I made a video about that already, so I might do another one about it, or I might not do another one. And then you can see the bell housing. It was super greasy. I went ahead and did as much as I can, but it's not too important. This is just the bell housing, so it's not, you know, if it's greasy, it's no big issue. But everything's all nice and clean. The firewall here is all nice and clean. The left side passenger here has a little bit of rust. This is just from the battery tray and such, from rubbing and such like that, but no big deal. These are the bolts for the AC compressor. We'll keep those. But that's pretty much it. Everything's nice and clean. I might go ahead and do one more spray down, but for the most part, this is better than it was before. So this is really nice, and it really helps to have a clean working area. This is your clean, this is like your table where you're gonna be eating. So you always want to have a nice clean table before you start putting food onto the table. So that's basically what we're doing. I hope you guys enjoyed today's 3.4 swab, just prepping the engine bay. Tomorrow we're gonna receive our parts that is needed to install this engine back together. Our parts that we're waiting are is the OEM parts. This has all of our OEM gaskets, knock sensor harness, all the little bitty gaskets that's needed to put the cylinder head and everything back together. So I'll go ahead and show you guys that on the next video. We'll go ahead and assemble the engine. We're still waiting for our harness, our engine harness, and our crossover, which is ETA another week out from our harness guy. So we might be another week and a half out before we get this installed. But starting tomorrow and this week, this engine should be put back together, and hopefully I'll have my garage back. Right now my garage is super messy. Well, it's organized, but it's just lots of parts everywhere. All these parts scattered everywhere, and I really want to get this engine put back together and then start cleaning up my garage and then have a new project. We do have an upcoming project, which is probably a customer that's going to bring in their Land Cruiser, and we're going to do an engine overhaul on that, or at least a top and rebuild. So we'll see what happens. The customer is still debating if what they want to do and when they want to do it. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys enjoyed this content, make sure to follow the Instagram NuttyNu_444. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye bye.